unmute yourself, ask your questions. And yeah, Paul, glad to see you up here. How's it going, Paul? I don't think we've ever talked in person, but we just messaged each other, and you've helped me so many times with research that I'm so glad to be seeing you over here. No, actually, we might have had a live call. I'm not even sure. But anyhow, so if all goes well, you guys are now seeing my screen. Yeah, the What's Working Now in GTM PPT show. And yeah, again, let me try to open up the chat in a way so that I can see it and actually react to it whenever I do have a chance to take a look at it. But other than that, we're just gonna get started because we've got a lot to cover today. And a lot to cover because I don't know about you guys, but for many companies out there, oh, thanks for turning on the camera, Stefan. Really appreciate it. Where are you calling from, by the way? Are you in this part of Europe, or have you traveled away somewhere far, Stefan?
I'm here. I'm here now in Budapest. Where I don't know.
Yeah, I see you're unmuting.
We are maybe 2 states away. Here in Budapest, but I'm gonna travel soon. I'm going to Japan and Turkey for like conference.
Good for you. Good for you, man. Okay, let's get into this thing. I'm just gonna hit record on this other camera over here. So we want to get cranking. And this is actually, we haven't been doing an online training for quite a while. And the reason is, quite frankly, is that we saw go-to-market motions and many things start to break. As in, clients having trouble, us having trouble, and not being able to deliver the numbers that we have so far. And so in the second half of 2023, the shit really started to hit the fan. And so we stopped doing trainings and concentrated 100% on cracking the equation, cracking this problem that, how do we make go-to-market work again? Okay. And if I'm able to just get back to this presentation that we're on, there we go. I'm going to hit that big button, which is supposed to put this thing out there in full screen. Yeah, again, for those of you joining us right now, I've made the excuse in the beginning of the call that I've never done a presentation, like a webinar in Google Meet. This is the first time I'm testing it. I've used it a gazillion times for meetings, but this is the first time we're doing it right now for webinars. So just bear with me here while we go to presentation mode. There we go. That should do it. Yeah, technology is our friend. After all, we are in tech marketing. Okay, so what we're going to cover today is obviously 2 campaigns that have really started to work awesome for our company as well as clients. But we also want to understand the fundamentals of why things stopped working about a year ago for us and for probably 900,000 other companies out there. And we just want to crack this equation. And I'm glad to say that we have some very good results. I'm going to share the results with you, and I'm also going to share the underlying mechanisms of why things are working and obviously what is working. Okay, so again, let's get into it. If you've just joined us, feel free to unmute yourself when you have a question. I'm not sure if I can see the chat, but I'll do my best. Okay, so the situation is that I've had conversations with almost 24 companies in the past 2 months. And part of that was for a research, and part of that was, just regular sales and just networking. And one recurring theme was that, holy moly, our outbound is broken. Okay, so everybody's suffering in terms of revenue. Like, that is old news. So ever since late 2022, early 2023 or late 2023, depending on your industry and depending on where you are, things in go-to-market have really started to not work, okay? And yeah, before we get into this, if we haven't met, I'll do a mercifully brief introduction about me. That's me, Dan Rennie, in the picture. I run a B2B consulting and agency called Clear. And whenever I want to brag to people, I tell them that our very first client hit number 91 on the Financial Times FT 1000 list, which if you're calling from the States, that's the European equivalent of what you guys have over there. What's it called? The Inc. 5000. Yeah, that's it. The Inc. 5000, Inc. 1000. Well, they copied that thing because it's a good thing. And our very first client, after having worked together for 2.5 years, they actually hit that list at spot number 91. So that's all about me. Let's get into this, which is a crazy world, as I'm sure probably the reason you're on this call is because you want to learn about what's working now, and what you're experiencing is significantly worse than what you were experiencing just 2.5, 3, or 4 years ago. Okay, and what you see on this chart is the root of the problem. Okay, and what we have here is the customer acquisition cost in B2B year over year. Okay, so when the research was done was up here, and just 6 years before the research, they indexed customer acquisition cost at 0. And so over the course of 6 years, what you saw was a 69% increase in customer acquisition cost across the board in B2B. And obviously this varies industry by industry, so it's going to be different for med tech and health tech and cybersecurity and whatnot. But at a 30,000-foot view, what you had was a 69% increase on average in customer acquisition costs. Okay, and customer acquisition cost is usually defined by total sales and total marketing expenditure divided by the number of new clients that a company acquires. Okay, that's pretty straightforward. Now, there's only one thing that is even more sad than what you see in this graphic here, which is that this research was done in 2019. Okay, you can see it in the tiny print over here. The research was actually done in 2019. So for the 6 years leading up to 2019, you saw a 69% increase. But what happened 2019, and what happened since 2019 is an even uglier picture, which you can see in this graphic right here. And I'm just gonna pause for a second, let you ponder about that while I actually let someone into this call, because I have to let everybody in like separately. And Gabor, I'm glad you're joining us. And yeah, just to get you up to speed, we've been discussing statistics on why GTM is broken. And what we just saw was that for the 6 years leading up to 2019, customer acquisition costs in B2B industries have increased by 69%. And it got just a bit worse since 2019 because the increase was even bigger, as you see over here. Okay, so these numbers speak for themselves. Okay, and this is between 2019 and it's Q3 of 2023. Okay, so it's not even funny how much the cost to acquire one customer for the average B2B company has increased over the past couple of years. Now, just so that we define things, we've been talking about GTM, go to market, and by go to market, what we mean, just so we got to get straight on definitions so that everybody speaks the same language, and we define things similarly. What you see here is the bow tie, which is a model that was created by a company called Winning by Design, and it's a very accurate representation of the B2B customer journey. Because what happens in the B2B customer journey is that things don't stop at the sale, because this is your usual funnel flipped on the side where you build awareness and educate and then help the client choose and then get them to commit. But and this is the ingenuity of this model, life doesn't stop there, not even close, because when you're in a subscription business, you'll have to onboard somebody. And by subscription business, we mean that you get money on a recurring basis, which is the case for a number of SaaS companies out there, not just software as a service, but for professional services as well, who like to put clients into retainers so that they get paid over and over and over again. Okay. So when you're doing the subscription model, then you'll have onboarding, you'll need the person or the company or the client to adopt your solution. And most importantly, you'll need to retain them and expand. In other words, upsell them. Okay. And guess where most of the money is made? Because we marketers and salespeople and founders, we're obsessed about the beginning of the funnel and especially the first sale. Okay. So we're hugely obsessed about this part. But where most of the money, not to mention profits, are made is back here in the retention and the expansion. You can do the math, but you don't need to do the math because so many people have done it, like Winning by Design. And so it's huge. It's huge. We tend to forget this. And back to the definition, when we talk about going to market, we mean all the sales, all the marketing, and even the customer success, and to some extent the product marketing. And you can even put many other functions in there, such as finance, but we usually simplify it down to just sales and marketing, and to customer success to a lesser extent. But all these activities that get the client to commit and stay with you and then spend more and more with you. Okay, so that's what we're talking about when we're talking about GTM. So when we say that GTM is broken, we're not only talking about sales not being able to make sales and hit numbers, because that's just a surface level problem. Everything else in this equation tends to be broken. Okay, so renewals suffer, top of funnel suffers, and everything else suffers, which is why things are going south. But there's a solution, which we're going to get to. This is just a little teaser. I wanted to drop that hook in there. Don't worry, it's all going to be happy and good in the end. Okay, so customer acquisition costs increasing is one thing, but then money being gone is another thing. And again, this is old news, a TechCrunch article from late 2023. And what we see is that there is less money on the market. And just so you get a feeling for how much less money there is on the market, take March 2023. March 2023 in the United States saw $9.7 billion US dollars spent across 270 deals on behalf of VCs. What happens half a year later in October? 9.7 billion is decimated, nearly decimated into just 1.5 billion. And you'll do the math quickly that this 1.5 billion, which is probably about a fifth of what it was in March, was spread out over just half of the number of deals. So the amount of VC funding per deal was also a lot less. It was spread a lot thinner over just 131 deals versus 270 deals when there was 5 times as much money available. And so this just shows you how much less money there is. And if you're in B2B services and B2B technology, and you're not directly impacted by venture capital money, you're still directly impacted by venture capital money because it fuels everything in B2B tech, and especially SaaS, professional services, software development. It's been quite obvious that for quite a few decades that whenever Silicon Valley starts turning off the tap, then the negative effects trickle down through IT and everything else. And the vice versa, the reverse is true also. So when money starts flowing, then after, depending on where you are geographically and in what vertical, when the money starts coming, just with a few months of delay or half a year of delay, your industry is going to start gaining steam again. Okay, so it's, VC money in the US is a pretty good indicator of stuff. But again, so this looks bad enough that from March 2023, you went from 9.7 to 1.5 billion. But what happened in 2022? Okay, this is so bad that it's funny. because what we just saw was 2023, but in the 1 year leading up to 2023, there was already a 70% decline in VC investment in SaaS. Okay, and this is from the same article. I put it in the speaker notes, so you can check out the TechCrunch article where these numbers are from. So it's massive. It's massive. And if that wasn't bad enough, how about a little bit of competition? Okay, this research by Ascendix was done in 2023. And by 2023, you had 30,000 SaaS companies out there. And what they estimated things to be, so 2023 was like way into this recession or slump that we are experiencing today in 2024. And they predicted that the number of SaaS companies, because there was less VC money and a lot of companies went bankrupt, but the new ones are just emerging at such an astonishing pace that, the total was growing. Look at this. We added about 20% growth in the number of SaaS companies in just 2 years, despite the recession. And then what happens in this 1 year is almost unbelievable. It's 2.5x in growth. 2.5x in growth in the number of SaaS companies on the globe. Okay, that's mind-blowing. So what happens is when you have less money, people buying less, and more competition, what you have is a bloodbath. Okay, and that pretty much explains, that almost completely explains why what we wrote on the very first slide, that help my outbound is broken, is happening, because you have a bunch of desperate SDRs and account executives. They're pictured over here on the right-hand side. You have them going out and being super desperate, trying to hit numbers with less resources, and it's just a bloodbath. So if you saw things drop and go south, and you are responsible for part or all of your company's go-to-market and pipeline, then it's probably not your fault, but you're the one who has to fix it and do something about it. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, I'd like to open up for questions. So go ahead, unmute yourself. I'm going to drag this little thing over here that has your faces. And I'm not sure if you guys wrote anything in the chat. I don't think you have. But yeah, just go ahead, fire away. What's your, am I way off here? Or have you been experiencing the same? Do you have a solution to all these problems? And, go ahead. This actually allows me to catch just a sip of water. That's why I let you ask questions, not so that you would actually ask questions. Okay, so we're getting back into it. If I can find my slideshow, great. Okay, so the reason you came here is to see what is working now. Okay, and before we do that, I just want to point out this research. I've posted this on several times. I've posted this on LinkedIn several times, and I think I stole it from Mr. Paul Denham, who just happens to be on this call. So Paul, thank you again. This is a chart that I take with me everywhere, because it is research from 2023 and what the research was about. And notice that it's a huge number of buyers. So I think this was done by Paul and his team. I'm not sure, but maybe he can jump in and correct me. But we're talking about 3,622 buyers and users of B2B products and services across the world. Okay, so that's not like a quick LinkedIn poll that you put up in the afternoon. This is serious research. And what they wanted to uncover was the proportion of people who have had positive buying experiences when they were purchasing B2B products or services. And what you see up here, the higher chart, is the proportion of people who said that they had positive experiences in 2022. and the same in 2023. And the verticals, so the x-axis, or excuse me, yeah, the x-axis, if you will, are pretty much the stages of the buyer journey, similar to the bow tie that we saw, which is the initial research, initial interaction with suppliers, diagnosing requirements, quality of offer received, negotiating, contracting, and onboarding. So what happened was that over just the course of 1 year, there was quite a noticeable drop in the perceived quality of the buyer journey, of the buying experience. Okay. And the way I interpreted this, and we might have even talked about this with Paul, and I'm sure he posted about it, but the way I interpreted this is not that B2B companies suddenly started to suck more and, offer worse experiences and ruin the game for the buyers. That's not what happened. Most companies have been improving their buying journeys and buyer experiences and have put, more effort into it, because more and more companies are recognizing that it's a true source of competitive advantage. But what happened is the expectations have shifted this much. And it's a lot. So we're talking about 3 to 6 percentage points over just the course of 1 year. And I believe them because, it's not like they asked 27 people. We're talking about 3,700, 3,600 people over here. So the reason I brought this here is because the solution is going to have to take into account that buyer experience is a huge part of the puzzle. And anything that we do and everything that we do has to account for the principle that it's going to be buyer experience that wins the game at the end of the day. Okay, that's not entirely true, but it's a huge piece of the puzzle. Okay, so what's working? And I'm going to stop the analysis and everything else. And I'm going to talk about the 2 campaigns that have been working really great for us. Okay, one is content collaboration. And this is going to be familiar to you guys if you have, if you've done anything like content collaboration, like inviting people to podcasts and whatnot. Now, this used to work like gangbusters. And the common approach was getting people on a research to, reach out to them, to a cold prospect, to a selected group of companies, and tell them, hey, we're doing this research and we'd love you to take part in that. Now, as well as this thing worked, it also has stopped working for us and for clients. So we needed to alter the process and the details. But after having altered it, what we got was and this is, we're talking about 95 target prospects here. And this is from our data, by the way, our campaign, one of the campaigns we did. And what we got was an 11.6% positive reply rate. So this means that out of 95 people we reached out to, which amounts to about 57 companies, because we are reaching out to several buying committee members from a given company. 11.6% of them came back with a positive reply. And that 11.6% is exactly 11.6% percentage points better than what most of the people I talk to have experienced in their cold outreach efforts. Because, just last night, I was talking to a gentleman from Canada. They're doing great, $25 million IT services company. Grew to 25 million all through referrals and, just picking up gigs here and there up to the tune of $500,000. And so he grew this thing to $25 million all through referrals and an occasional RFP. And he started experimenting with outbound. And I have the number here because I wrote it down in my notebook. So this gentleman I asked him, how did you do in March? And the number he gave me was 8,516 emails sent, automated, personalized, trying to get a decision maker to a conversation. And he didn't specify how many emails went back and forth, but he did specify how many meetings he got. which was a big fat 0. And I could tell, it's just heartbreaking speaking to somebody who's had so much success in such a short period of time. And just seeing these numbers, and you could tell he was frustrated. Okay. And Paul's asking what outreach methods we used, and that's coming up on the next slide. Yeah, so it's just heartbreaking. So, we got to do something about that. And I'm glad we cracked the code, because this is what we did. This is a screenshot from Expandy, and what we did was almost totally automated, not completely automated, but up to the first touch point, it was automated. And it was a series of interactions on LinkedIn, which doesn't start with a connection request and then, asking people for a meeting. It's not what we do. So first, we take a look at their profiles, we like a post, we see if we're connected, then we do a skill endorsement. And after we do a skill endorsement, we send them a message and ask them. And there's always like a day or two in between these actions, so that it doesn't feel like, because that's how it makes sense on LinkedIn. Okay. And if we're not connected, we would and this isn't complicated. So the flow, the process itself is totally not complicated. What we would do is send a connection request. And in that connection request, we would, tell them what's going on and what we're looking for, which is a modified version of the old research outreach method, which this is what we had to tweak because it stopped working the old way. And so if we were connected, and I just lost it. Okay, there we are. So if we were connected and they accepted the connection request, then we would reiterate the message, because most of the time they wouldn't reply because people just don't see the message when you send a connection request. So we would tell them, hey, you might have missed this message. Thanks for connecting, but here's what I'm after. And if they wouldn't accept the connection, which most people didn't, obviously, then then we would send them an email. If we could send them an email, because you can't send everybody an email on LinkedIn. There's some rules to it. But at the end of the day, we got positive replies from 11.6% of the people, which was 11 people to be exact, out of 95. Okay, and some of those 95 just failed right out of the gate. So the real number was around 90 something. But again, so 11 people got back to us, and we would have conversations. And I'm not saying that we got sales right away, but with some of the people, we are in the discovery process, which is great, and it's working. And it's working a lot better than Stuff for Everybody else. Because in another conversation, and this was with a client, and we helped them with account-based marketing recently, and they did have an outbound team, which consisted of 2 people, and they were doing, just mindless to sophisticated outbound email, LinkedIn messages, and they do what most companies do when they see a relevant hire. Then they hit that company saying, hey, we can help you because we got the software you need to nail it in your first 90 days as a CISO at the company. So let's have a talk. And they sent out, and this was over the period of a month and a half, 6,000 messages, and got 4 meetings, and none of them turned into anything. So, at least these guys got meetings, but they couldn't really capitalize on them. And, but we're talking about 6,000 to 4. And if you want a little more encouragement, like a more encouraging number is another gentleman out of Florida. They were a professional services company, and his number was 1,749 messages sent and 5 conversations. But at least they're getting sales from that. But the reason he reached out to us is because, he wasn't happy with that. He said, like, there's no way we can optimize this anymore. And it's sucking. And at the end of the day, like, it does cost a lot to spend to spam people and do cold outreach mindlessly. And so he was looking for a better way, because it's, human labor is an expense, which people forget about. Because when you ask people about customer acquisition costs and how much it cost to go to market or acquire a customer, very often they casually forget headcount and human labor. So they'll count agency expenses, but they won't count employees because they think employees are a given. Well, they're here, they're employed anyway. So they just assume that, you know, an employee is free and doesn't have a payroll and benefits that should be accounted into the customer acquisition cost. Okay. I'm sure none of you guys on this call do that, but just know that there are some people out there, and many people, who think that way. Okay. They're not the entrepreneurs. They're not the founders, because the founders feel that this on their skin. They're usually, you know, mid-level management who are not yet financially literate enough. Okay. Rant over. So this was one method. And if you do go this way, you know, you could use this in your podcast to get guests for your podcast. You can use it for articles, even for LinkedIn posts. So I haven't tried this personally, but other people would strike conversations, inviting people to add insight to their LinkedIn post. So it's like me reaching out to Eric or Paul saying, hey, I'm writing a post about this and that. I'd love your input because you're an expert. And then I would reach out and try to get a quote from them. Okay. By the way, getting a quote is usually, in most industries, it doesn't work. I'll tell you that. If you're targeting marketing and salespeople, then they're more extroverted, and then it might work. But in most industries, trying to get a quote and trying to please somebody by quoting them is just a no-no. It doesn't work. Okay. So a lot of people saw success with this. And keep the funnel simple, so it doesn't have to have, because you're using an automation tool and it's so tempting. And if you've been in marketing automation and have played around with tools, you know that the first thing you do is you dive in. And when you're a newbie, you're like, oh, I can do all this and all these logics. And then you end up building something that is like overflowing and just overwhelming. And it's guaranteed to break, and it's guaranteed to have holes and gaps in it. And so the best thing is to just keep it simple. And the next campaign type that I'm going to show you is also super simple, and it goes back to the basics. By the way, any questions up to this point? I'm trying to look at the chat. Can we look at the chat here? Ta-da-da-dum. I don't think there's anything in the chat, right? Or is there? Yeah. So I'm in the middle of answering Paul's question about what outreach methods we use. Okay. Yeah. Again, feel free to unmute yourself and pitch in if you want to. I'm totally open to that. Right. So second campaign. This is good old demand capture. So I had the hypothesis, and I would post about this over and over, that, guys, in a market like this, demand capture is super hard because there's less money, less people are buying, the competition is increasing. So demand capture is super hard. And that is targeting people who are in market and ready to buy, because there's just so much competition for them. And another common assumption in our space is that Facebook and Instagram ads don't work for B2B enterprise and B2B technology audiences. And so I thought, well, since we're trying so many things, and since everything is broken and everything is flipped on its head, and what used to work doesn't work anymore, so maybe what used to not work can work if done right. So I set up a super simple campaign, and I did use some consultants for this who are really good at these types of funnels and campaigns and Facebook ads, because, you know, a marketing consultant needs a marketing consultant every now and then, right? So it's just the truth. It's the way the world works, because everything is so specialized. Like I've done so much Facebook ads in my former life, but right now, like when I needed stuff done and I wasn't up to date on Facebook ads and Instagram ads, I just paid a bunch of money to somebody that was really on top of their game, and it paid off. Seemingly it did, because what we have here is one test campaign running at $100 a day And the process was this, by the way. I posted this on my LinkedIn page. That's why I just use this little, what is it? It's not a screenshot, but this is how simple it is. So what we have is an Instagram ad. We haven't even put it on LinkedIn yet, but it's an Instagram ad which takes people, and it does not give you the information in the ad. So it's not following the best practices of keep people on the platform and give them value there. No, it's a freaking teaser video. It gives very little value. It just makes you curious, just like, awareness ads in the good old days. So it's designed to get the click and take people off platform onto a very ugly landing page, which I'm going to show you. And there you have a very ugly and very simple video, which is text only and me talking for almost 15 minutes. And what happens when somebody watches that and says, okay, I'm interested, then they will click on a button, but they can't book a call right away because first we're going to qualify them to make sure that they've got the money, that they're in a position to buy, and that they're cool people. Okay. I'm just going to show you the form. And if not, we take them to a thank you page where we give them free resources and we tell them, hey, sorry, it looks like that for this breakthrough session, I probably can't help you because I can't help you. We don't say why, but anyway, so if they're not in market, if they're not leaders, and there's a couple of other criteria which we look at here, then we just give them free resources and wish them well. If they are qualified, they get to a Calendly page where they can book a meeting with yours truly. Okay, and so the way this ended up working, and again, this is like very low key. This is not scaled. This is still in experimentation mode. And the numbers here are from the past 2 weeks. And what we got is 38 people filling out the form, and 13 of them actually making it to calls. So signing up for a call and qualifying for a call. And of those 13 people, I think over the past week, about 9 of them showed up. So the show up rate was around 75%, which isn't bad. So I was told that even like 50 and 60 is the general number. So I'm glad that we got around 75%. So it's great. And the cost per lead, which we define by somebody wanting to talk to us about their problem, looking for a solution, over the past 2 weeks was $143, which is actually a bit more because of the no-shows. So add about 25% to this. So let's say $175, but it's still awesome. I mean, maybe it's not out of this world, but this is not an optimized campaign. This is not yet scaled. The video play rate is junk. So like not a lot of people watch the entire video, and they watch relatively little percentage of it, like 13%, 14% on average. So, the video can be improved. But it's still getting us qualified SQLs at a very decent price. Okay. And so when you're selling services like we are at 10 to 60 to 100K per year, getting someone on the phone who can be converted relatively easily and relatively fast for this amount of money, it's not a bad deal. So I thought I would, share this with you. And obviously the big question is what's in the video and what's in the ad. And what is in those places is I'm giving not a lot of value. So, we've been taught, and for a good reason, to be always leading with value and offer a bunch of information that can be put to use by the buyer. But that is not what I was doing here. Of course, there's value in it and there's help, but there's a lot more of good old direct response copywriting, trying to get people to take action and to act now, and trying to play to their emotions. So for the remainder of the time, because this campaign is doing really well, and I think you can take a lot away from it, I can play you the video and I can stop and I can analyze why we said what we said. If you're interested in this, if you're cool with this. Because we can just call it a day if you've got to go, and if this isn't very relevant for you. Just let me know in the chat if you're up for this. Yeah. Right, okay. Let's play it. Okay, then what we're gonna do is jump to the very ugly landing page. I'm like, before I saw how well it works, I was ashamed of how ugly it is. But here it is. I think you see it now, right? So it's good old ugly, not even a logo on there. It's direct response designed to get people to act. Okay, so the entire landing page is this almost spammy and quite generic headline with a video over here. And the video is me talking, and here's the book your call button. And that's the entire page. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speed this up so that it's a lot shorter. And yeah, maybe I'll start with the headline before we look at the video. Okay. So again, we want to call out the target audience, founders and growth leaders of B2B tech companies. We want to call out we mentioned the name. Like initially we didn't even mention core, but then it didn't really work. And so we tweaked this headline and then put the name of the system in there. And, you know, all we're telling them, and this is totally not positioned, there isn't any marketing shenanigans here. We're just telling them, here's the system, here's what it's going to get you, and here's the further benefit, like the down the line benefit that you can get from it. Okay, and there's, you know, in the next 8 weeks, like that's a powerful thing when you put everything in a time frame. So it makes it more specific and believable. But, you know, like who doesn't? I mean, I'm so surprised that this works, especially in this environment. It's like, you know, we generate high qualified, high value prospects in the next 8 weeks. Like that is so undifferentiated and so cliched that it's funny that we're getting $25 million companies, founders, and CMOs to talk to us, but it's the reality. So here it is.
Predictable results without having to reinvent the wheel. All that brings me finally to the system.
Can you hear it?
Let me walk you through the whole thing right now. The first step to getting qualified leads and establishing authority is to get hyper clear on your ideal customer profile.
Okay, so I think this started auto-playing while I was talking, but the beginning of the video just basically calls out, hey, B2B founders and tech leaders, if you're suffering with these symptoms, then you know you have come to the right place because this video is going to help you do that. Okay, so like we set the stage, we talk to their pain points first, and then we go into this, like what most companies are trying to do.
Most companies have a vague notion of who they think their customer is, but laser focusing on your messaging and doing this on one niche is key to persuasion. I help you refine and deepen your ideal customer profile and your buyer personas, uncover their pain points, and really get in their heads so we can speak directly to what each persona cares about. With a clear customer profile, there's no wasting time with generic targeting and cookie cutter irrelevant messaging. Once you have a clear customer profile, then the next step is to reach out and run insight sessions with them using non-obvious sources of data, which will also.
Right. So, you know, what we do with companies whenever we start working is we take a look at their positioning, messaging, and especially their ideal customer profile definition, because it's usually non-existent, or if it is existent, it is way too vague for us to later build an effective campaign for it. Okay. So right now I'm taking them through the steps of the program that we are getting enrollment for, that we're enrolling people into. And so that was the first step. And then I'm giving them 4 generic steps of how it works. And the second is, you know, interviewing your clients.
We will build a list of your ideal target companies. Then my team will actually go out and recruit future buyers for your insight sessions. We'll craft questions that uncover their deepest pains and root problems. Then I'll teach you my proven techniques for having natural, insightful conversations that go beyond surface level feedback. The qualitative insights we'll discover will be invaluable. This avoids wasting months testing ideas blindly. Now, you'll create content that powerfully resonates because it comes straight from the voice of your customers. We'll analyze your interviews to extract major themes, insights, and quotes. You'll get an intimate understanding of customer needs to inform your marketing. Then once that's in place, the next thing you need is an authority report that becomes both a lead magnet and a door opener to new accounts. Creating original research is incredibly tedious and time consuming, but a report establishes authority and gets attention. My team will take the customer interview insights and turn them into an authority report. We'll uncover data, trends, and insights your market is hungry for. And the report will feature proprietary information your prospects can't get anywhere else. I'll help you craft the positioning, headlines, and design to make it highly shareable. Now you can get your content directly into the hands of your ideal customers. This generates leads while positioning you as the thought leader. And then finally, you need a system to
Yeah, so basically what we promised initially in this video is that we would show them a step-by-step system that works right now to build pipeline. And we're doing that, but we're also telling them, here's the system and here's what it looks like when we do it for you. So it's almost like two birds with one stone. It's like, if you do what we do, then obviously you're going to succeed. And then watching this video, you'll get like the major steps from the blueprint, and you can choose to do it yourself, or you can have us do it. Okay, so again, super simple logic, and we're doing nothing here. We're just like walking them through the steps with language that is not way too hypey, but it does try to, you know, spark some interest and desire, and does try to make it a little bit sexy, but we try to keep it low key.
to promote the report for maximum exposure. Distributing the report once won't make a lasting impact. The key is ongoing promotion through multiple channels and multiple formats. We start by repurposing your authority report into blog posts, social posts, videos, and more so that you'll have a stock of authority content from multiple channels. Everything will be at your fingertip, ready for ongoing distribution to your target audience. And I'll reveal cutting-edge tactics for getting your report covered by industry publications and thought leaders on social media. And month after month, you'll systematically circulate your report and content assets through different channels to keep leads and visibility growing. The best part, you'll have our launch plan breaking everything down step by step so that it's impossible to mess up. You'll continually expand your authority and reach. Suddenly, you have a predictable system for leads, for establishing authority, and for dominating your category month after month. And when everything is said and done, you'll have a steady stream of qualified sales-ready leads scheduling demos. No more fishing for prospects. You'll be recognized as a thought leader and a go.
Right. So you might have recognized that what we're doing here is we're future pacing them. So we told them, here's the system, and here's what will happen to you personally, you know, besides getting leads and, you know, filling pipeline, because, you know, why stop there? We go a step further and we'll future pace them into what the desired future state looks like. Okay. And we're using pretty simple language to do that, but we are making it desirable. So we're not, we've got like, I don't know, 6, 7, or 8 bullet points on this. Okay. And by the way, you'll notice that there's no way to scrub this video. And that's just, you know, best practice, because if you do, then people will start skipping forward and they're going to exit your page. So don't give them the chance to do that.
Go to authority in your niche. Say goodbye to being invisible. You'll have a proprietary insight into your market that the competition lacks. Now you can outsmart them. Your content and sales activities will be dialed in your ideal customer's deepest needs. Having marketing that resonates will make conversion rates go up and the sales cycle shorten. You'll have a repeatable system for generating leads using unique and differentiated content, making consistent growth inevitable. And you'll feel confident, in control, and excited again about the future of your business. The stress and uncertainty will be gone. Once you have this, you'll have a start-to-finish system for going from overwhelmed underdog to industry leader in as little as the next 10 weeks. Do you see how powerful this is? Like I said, everything you've been feeling, the stress, the frustration, the nagging doubts, none of that is your fault. You just didn't have a system. But now that you know this,
again, so we're playing into the stuff that they feel. Okay. So just because it's B2B, you don't have to stop at features and numbers. In fact, you should skip over that part as fast as possible. So the features were in there, and the features were the steps and the outcomes. But we're really doubling down on, you know, just good old psychology. It's the stuff that they will feel, and it's the feelings that they want to get away from and the feelings that they want to experience. And that's what we're doing in this part over here. Yeah, I was surprised that this would resonate with, you know, CMOs of you know, $20+ million companies, but apparently it does, because, you know, feelings are, because this isn't typical B2B enterprise copy, and but I guess feelings are universal, and we thought, okay, why not? Let's just go all in on the feelings, on the direct response, and see what happens.
this, you owe it to yourself, your team, and the people you care for to start using the system to get traction and start feeling optimistic and fulfilled again, starting today. So now you have a choice. You can keep on struggling month after month to get traction, wasting time and money on tactics that don't work anymore, dealing with mounting stress, frustration, uncertainty about the future of your business. Or if you want to generate more qualified leads, establish authority in your niche, and experience rapid growth this year, and finally feel confident, fulfilled, and proud of the business you've built, then here's what I have for you. I've set aside some time in the next 24 to 48 hours to speak to the marketing and sales heads or any leader responsible for growth about how you can apply this system to achieve breakthrough growth starting today. Here's how that works. We'll get on Zoom for about 45 minutes. You can tell me everything you're struggling with and everything that's not working. And on this call, we'll put our heads together and come up with a step-by-step game plan for you to completely overcome stalled growth and get more leads and recognition this year, faster than you ever thought possible. And if you want my help to implement that game plan so you start seeing progress right away, we can talk about how to make that happen. And if not, that's fine too. Either way, my goal for this call is to show you exactly what you need to do to start feeling optimistic and in control again so you can grow your business and make your mark this year. Click the button under this video and you'll be taken to a very short application so I can learn more about you, and then to a calendar page where you can choose an appointment time that works for you guys. We'll meet on Zoom at the time you chose.
Yeah, so you don't want to leave them hanging. I mean, so you want to set up the journey so that they know what to expect. So when it says book a call, we told them that there's going to be a short form. We're going to ask them a few questions and then they can book the time. And yeah, that's pretty much, I think we're almost done with the video. So I just want to show you this form. So you fill out your name, test, and we put phone number in there just in case, and it's not mandatory, but everybody, I mean, 100% of the people ended up leaving their phone numbers here. It's not mandatory, but they still did. And then we have Calendly fire up. And this is what we ask them. Are you a founder or a sales leader or a marketing leader? Yes, no. And here's where we gauge their attitude about spending money on ads and everything else. So, if a mentor advised me to spend $1,000, we don't just straight out ask, but we give them a situation, and that's just good psychology. So also in buyer interviews, rather than asking questions directly, would you spend this much money on marketing? It's much better to put it into a situation. And so I learned that with buyer interviews, that you want to get them thinking in stories and situations rather than in abstract terms. Okay, and so if you were told to spend $1,000, what would you do? Would you do it? Would you hesitate, or would you avoid it because you want to do things as cheaply as possible? And obviously, if they click this, then we don't want to talk to them. What's your financial situation? I have like 14K or more and ready to go. I don't, but I can get buy-in. Maybe it's hard, or I don't have control and I cannot get buy-in. And obviously, if they click the last one, then we don't talk to them. Then how soon are you committed to growing? Right now, within 90 days, more than 90 days. And we don't want to talk to anybody who says they want to do it in more than 90 days because they're just not going to convert. And in this campaign, we want people to convert. They'll still get on our list, and we opt them into our newsletter and stuff. But yeah, and so if we say choose time, then they'll get to the Calendly page where they will choose the time. Ladies and gentlemen, that was pretty much it. I'd love to have your feedback, what you thought, what questions you may have, what are you skeptical about? Yeah, I just love your feedback. I'm going to so feel free to unmute yourself or drop questions in the chat. But I think so, if you want to launch a new campaign now, I would go with either one of these that I just showed you. Yeah, go ahead, Paul.
Hi, Daniel. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Really interesting. So let me just clarify. That was a campaign to bring business into your agency, and you
Yes.
started ads on Instagram. Is that correct?
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram, but Facebook didn't end up converting. So Meta ads automatically optimized to show stuff on Instagram, to deliver ads on Instagram. But yeah, so it started on Facebook and Instagram.
That's interesting. So what made you choose Instagram as opposed to LinkedIn, which is sort of your platform of choice, isn't it?
It is. Great question. So I had people tell me, and I know that many SaaS companies are seeing success, enterprise SaaS, on Instagram and LinkedIn, even if for retargeting, but it's just a thing out there that, everybody's on these platforms. So I would have people, come on calls and say, okay, I was tired and I was scrolling Instagram, I was scrolling Facebook, and I saw your ad and I was like, what? That's obnoxious. And so I booked a call. And it's just, yeah.
I like it.
So
I
again,
like the fact that
yeah.
you've taken a sort of B2C approach and tested it here and proven that actually it works, and particularly when you're appealing to the emotional, the feeling side of it. I think there's not enough of that in B2B, so good on you. There's lots to be taken away from it.
Yeah. By the way, that slide that I pulled up earlier, that is from you guys, right? The buyer experience thing. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for sharing.
That's a good one. It's a good piece of research.
Yeah. And also the video. I mean, literally, it was that video. There's no facial on it. It was literally just the text.
Yeah. Exactly. And the reason for that is this is quicker to produce. And someone smart told me that these videos tend to work better because you can't really mess them up. Because once you have a talking head, then there is the chance that, okay, no one's going to just click and convert because you look so great on video, at least not for me. So I can't look so good that they will convert because of my looks.
Yeah.
But if my head is on there, it doesn't add to it, but there are risks because they can be like, okay, well, what's this like? It's like, I don't like the look of this guy. I don't like his eyes. I don't like, why is his nose so big? So like there are booby traps in there. So the best thing to do is just to do this.
Yeah, no, I like it.
And once you build a brand,
So you mentioned I think you did mention the stats on it. So how much did you spend on this, and how many conversations did it result in?
Yeah, so we really started dialing it in. So the first 2 weeks weren't so great. We had to make a few tweaks, but it was running at $100 a day.
Mm-hmm.
And what you saw on this stat over here is I think it's 16 or 17 days. It's the last 16 or 7, so a bit more than 2 weeks at $100 a day, so maybe $1,500. Yeah, but what you want to see here is the cost per conversation, and as I said, it's a bit less than this for the last 2 weeks, so it's around 9. So that's why I said the cost per conversation is around 175.
Yeah. Okay. Which, as you said, getting people of that caliber in that position, having answered those questions, sort of qualified themselves in. As long as you could have a reasonable conversation with them, that seems like a good deal, right?
Yeah.
And what you said you're selling services from sort of 10 to 100K per annum. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah. No, it's helpful. Interesting to see how you're doing that.
Yeah. Oh, Eric is raising his hand.
Yes,
Hello.
my physical hand, actually, not the virtual one. But I think the difference was in the first line of your header when you said the core system, because every one of us, I think you're not unlike me. We get a million emails and LinkedIn connections ask, oh, we can bring you all these client meetings and yada, yada, yada. And they're all promising an ongoing service that you have no idea if they even understand your business. You have no idea if they understand your clients. They basically have no idea, and it may be a guy like, I'm an immigrant, I have an accent, I talk funny, as they say here in the South, and it could be some guy from India, Spain, or Argentina, somewhere with a heavy accent trying to set up meetings for your clients. You don't know if it's going to work, but you
Yeah.
branded it and said the core system. And at least for people like me that are somewhat both left and right brained, I don't like the fluffy thing. Oh, we can do this, and it'll just happen by magic, out, anywhere. I like someone saying, okay, here's the system. This is how you do it. It's like if I cook, I usually follow a cookbook because I'm not a great cook. And so following a system is immensely, it makes me interested right from the first line of first 2 seconds of your video. And so I thought that was key. And you said something to that effect, that you put core in there because it didn't work without that, or you said something
Yeah.
to that effect?
Yeah. So core is the name of the system, of the process, the 8-week process. And we chose not to mention the name at first, but then there is this principle in copywriting that when you pose your solution as something that is a system, then people put more faith in it, because they're like, oh, if it has a name and if it's called a system, then there's probably more to it than a couple of guys in a basement trying to improvise their way through.
And you might even run the risk that they'll remember the name. It's a brand.
I might run that risk. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
So
that's
I thought that was cool.
that's a good point, Eric. I agree with that. I think the fact it is a system gives it some, I don't know, some more
Credibility.
yeah, there's that.
Validity.
Yeah, I can follow this, and this will. Yeah, exactly. As opposed to being fluffy at the edges, and yeah. Do you get customers saying to you, okay, well, I love all this, but are you going to be able to put some numbers and some guarantees behind what I can expect?
Yeah. So like when we get into the conversation, and then at the end of the conversation, they say, okay, well, I'm interested. So what is it that you're going to deliver specifically? Then obviously we have sales material for that. We've got a few case studies, on, what the conversion rates are from going cold to actual conversation, and then how many interviews end up becoming discovery conversations later down the line. And so, yeah, we put everything in a Content Hub where they can check it out, and then we'll get notified if they look at the Content Hub.
Okay.
So
yeah,
that's the secret plan.
What are you using? Paperfly?
I am just switching from Paperfly to Aligned.
Are you? Why is that?
Aligned. I don't like Paperfly as much, man. It's like the UX, the features, it's just not my. So it's just.
What's this new one called?
It's called Aligned. Well, let me find their URL. It's Aligned.
So you've been using Paperfly then?
Yeah, for years.
Yeah,
for years, and I still have a subscription, but I'm putting my new stuff on Aligned. It's called teamaligned.com.
Okay.
Teamaligned.com.
Okay.
And it's
I'll take a look at it. I've been using it like for years as well, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Well, appreciate
Eric, you're checking it out. I see.
your time there, Daniel, and you're putting that together. Thanks for sharing it.
Thanks a lot for coming. And
I enjoyed it too, and I enjoyed seeing not just a still picture of you two. I think we've all three of us, we've been connected for a while.
Oh yeah, we've crossed paths several times.
Yeah, we have, Eric. Yeah.
I think I have reshared some of y'all's insight. I'm actually right now, I'm changing paths a little bit. We've started a new software company that will make accounting useful for guys like us, for professional services companies with fewer than 10 employees.
Okay.
So which I was in accounting software the first 15, 20 years of my career.
Yeah, you were taking Navision, right? Microsoft
Yes.
Navision. Or
Yeah.
yeah, that was your big
That
gig.
was my, yeah, that was the big one I hit right after I was with IBM, actually. So, and
Oh,
that's
okay.
a while ago. So I've had this idea for this product for 25 years. I've had
Oh,
the
man.
URL aconta.com since 1998.
No way.
And the last couple of years, I've spent trying to get other accounting software packages to internationalize.
Uh-huh.
And most of them say, well, that just can't be done. And I'm like, I actually did it many years ago, and they're just not comfortable with it. So finally I was like, dang, if I'm going to do this before I die, now is probably the time to do it.
Yeah.
So
Right
we've
on.
collected guys that was with Navision, that got acquired by Microsoft.
Mhm.
And so we're just bootstrapping this now from the ground up. So we're doing the early product management work right now. And
Well, make sure you post about it and build it in public. That always makes it more
yes,
fun and useful.
I,
You'll have an audience.
right
cheering you
now
on.
I've only recruited in public.
Uh-huh.
But we'll it's also, we're trying to weigh, we gotta get far enough so that someone else doesn't just copy it, and so I guess when we're like half a year out, we'll start posting more. Right now, after this meeting, I'm going to be teaching the other guys how they actually link to the company page on LinkedIn.
Okay.
It's funny you have to do this with very, very technical resources. Like, but that's funny. So
Good luck with that, Eric.
thank you. I will need
Yeah.
that for sure. So
All right, gentlemen. Looking forward to this, Eric.
yeah,
Yeah.
I
Looking
am.
forward
I'm
to
too.
building.
Thank you so much for your
stuff.
time and insight.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Have a
Bye-bye.
good one. Yeah, bye.